Now, y'all know damn well we ain't broadcasting no Donald Trump speech on the Black Star Network, no news conference. So I called this, y'all. I said yesterday, oh, that orange fool is going to be mad with all this attention that Vice President Kamala Harris is getting, and he is going to do something to try to get back in the news. So what did he do? He called a news conference today at Mar-a-Lago, and all the media people sat there and let his punk ass stand in front of the cameras and lie, lie, lie. He called her dumb. She couldn't pass the bar. All he did was trash her left and right. But what really got me, and this is really what ticked him off, he didn't like the fact that she had 15,000 people in Detroit, 11,000 in Wisconsin. So all he did was complain in the news conference about, y'all don't talk about my crowd sizes. Listen to this dumbass.
I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday? 2,000 people? If I ever had 2,000 people, you'd say my campaign is finished. It's so dishonest, the press. And here's a great example. I had in Michigan recently 25,000 people, and 25,000 people we just couldn't get them in. We had in Harrisburg 25,000 people, and 20,000 people couldn't get in. We had so many. Nobody ever mentions that. When she gets 1,500 people, and I saw it yesterday on ABC, where they said, oh, the crowd was so big. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size. And no, they never say the crowd was big. That's why I'm always saying, turn around the cameras. I'm so glad you asked that. I think it's so terrible when you say, well, she has 1,500 people, 1,000 people, and they talk about, oh, the enthusiasm. Let me tell you, we have the enthusiasm. But on crowd size, in history, for any country, nobody's had crowds like I have. And you know that. And when she gets 1,000 people and everybody starts jumping, you know that if I had 1,000 people would say, that's the end of his campaign. I have hundreds of thousands of people. In South Carolina, I had 88,000 people. In Alabama, I had 68,000 people. Nobody says about crowd size with me. But she has 1,000 people or 1,500 people, and they say, oh, the enthusiasm's back. No. The enthusiasm is with me and the Republican Party. People that, if you look at January 6th, which a lot of people aren't talking about very much, I think those people were treated very harshly when you compare them to other things that took place in this country where a lot of people were killed. Nobody was killed on January 6th. But I think that the people of January 6th were treated very unfairly. And they were there to complain, not through me. They were there to complain about an election. And, it's very interesting. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I said peacefully and patriotically, which nobody wants to say, but I said peacefully and patriotically. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and you've seen, Maggie, I was at the mall. I was at the Washington Monument. I was at the whole thing. I had crowds. I don't know who's ever had a bigger crowd than I have, but I had it many times. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was that day. And I'll tell you, it's very hard to find a picture of that crowd. You see the picture of a small number of people relatively going to the Capitol, but you never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken, I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people. If not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000, and he had 1 million people. And I'm okay with it because I liked Dr. Martin Luther King.
Go. Go. don't even know what. Don't even know what to say. Nothing you can say.
First of all,
That's clinical.
if y'all want to know how dumb this man is, it was 250,000 at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Ain't nobody ever said it was 1 million. That's the crowd. Now, everybody and their mama know that was not his January 6th crowd. If y'all could find a photo, let me know. In fact, Bernice King had to weigh in. She went absolutely not true. I really wish that people would stop using my father to support fallacy. What you're dealing with here, Mark, is an absolute narcissistic, lying, idiotic, attention whore who is so mad that she's getting the attention that you literally come out and whine over it. That was only 2 clips. He kept going, cause I got big cross. Ain't nobody got a big cross in me. Now, when you say something that dumb, I immediately thought about this. Come on, go full screen. This crowd right here, your ass ain't never had that crowd. This is the 2009 Obama inauguration. We all know that Donald Trump did not have people going from the Capitol to the Lincoln Memorial. And here's the thing, Mark, them punk ass reporters who love to kiss his ass didn't challenge him, didn't say, why you lying? Because they want that freak show back in the Oval Office.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be clear, his base is white men. So he's pushing all those buttons. Martin Luther King, Kamala's dumb. She's not really black. All of that is to inflame and stoke a reaction from them. Let's be clear. That's his base. That's what he's counting on. They have to come out for him to win. If 1 or 2% of them stays home, cooked. All right. And they like that. They like that. This, you go into the lowest common denominator. That's why he's messed up by Walz. Walz is, I said, a regular old white dude. Just regular. Right? Don't even have no money. All right. So that is like short-circuiting white men. Wait a minute, you saying this stuff. But then this dude is over here saying something else. And he's just like us. Matter of fact, he's more like us than you, because you're a fake billionaire. Greg, I said earlier, you heard me invoke Dr. Welson's name, and I was invoking in another context. But I mean, Donald Trump is clinical. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm glad Kamala's in it. I'm glad Kamala's in it. I'm thankful for the sister. She's going to be all right. But, you know, I think all of us, we're a little uncomfortable. Nobody wants to get taken out like the way Joe Biden was. Lauren, we wouldn't want people to do that to us. And so think about this. No. Took Joe all the way out. Just dogged him. You got to go. Nancy and Obama, yeah, I said Obama, they were involved in it. Take him out. Just because the man, he's elderly, he's slowing down, the stutter's getting a little worse in old age. Look at this dude. The editorial said Biden needs to drop out. Why isn't somebody saying that this man, who is so unhinged and just making up stuff, he clearly is either dealing with senility or another disease that he's been accused of having that y'all can Google. I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want Roland to get mad at me. It's in the tertiary stage, but he got something going on in his head. Unwell, seriously unwell. Or is it?
But here's the deal, Lauren. The only reason the New York Times said Trump should not run is because they got their asses kicked in a Biden editorial. The reality is, this man is nuts. He's deranged. He's off his rocker. And they sit here and ask him questions. And in fact, think about it. That news conference today, they were more calm, more serene than any White House news conference with Karine Jean-Pierre. They want this nutcase and all of his daily crazy because he makes the White House exciting. They were complaining, damn, Biden, he's so boring. That's the real deal here.
Yeah, and Aaron, the Aaron Blake story post today was another example of how completely crazy this is. Aaron Blake was writing about, and Jake Tapper mentioned it inexplicably as well, Tim Walz's reference to the couch and J.D. Vance and how off color that was. Well, isn't that interesting, right? We've been sitting here listening to Donald Trump lie to the entire nation now for 8 years. And it started with the birthplace of the first black president of the United States, all of which was a complete lie. And then the media covers Donald Trump today live. I think everyone covered him live, I think except CNN. I can't remember, but everyone covers this thing live, knowing full well that he's going to lie because he always lies. And Donald Trump is very good at knowing and understanding that he is going to be platformed, he's going to be shown live without much challenge. So he just lies because what he's doing is he's using these media platforms to have these lies be broadcast to millions and millions of people. And as long as they allow him to do that without protecting the truth, which should be the first job of journalism, he's going to do it. So of course he calls a press conference and says a bunch of nonsense, which is what he's been doing now for almost 10 years. And everybody in the media stands there and acts as if this is just the normal standard order of business because they're making off of it. As long as he makes money, they'll continue to do it. But I do think that the vice president is getting very close to challenging that mantle, which is why Donald Trump has been ignored for about 18 days. In fact, probably for the first time in about 7 years, certainly since 2016. So, we haven't had a break from Donald Trump in the media now for a really long time, except for right after July 21, when on the day that Joe Biden dropped out, obviously all the attention swung to the vice president, and the vice president's staff and now Tim Walz have been out really supplying everybody with a lot of content that's very exciting. And as you can see, Donald Trump is melting down because he can see crowds, he can see the numbers. I mean, what absolutely kills them is that money piece. And the money piece is now getting into the $300 and $400 million range. And that's what they're here for. They're here for the grift. They're here for the money. And they see the vice president getting that, and it is killing them in the background. And I don't see what stops that train. I mean, the only break that she's had is the protesters at her last rally, and even that really didn't slow it down. But what's strange about the protesters at her last rally is that I'm sure they must realize that former President Trump will do whatever Benjamin Netanyahu wants and send him billions of dollars. So I'm not understanding what their calculus is politically, but I do get the idea of protesting in the here and now because your leverage is before the election. So I understand that piece, but it is interesting when you think about the general politics.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Check some money orders. Go to P.O. Box 57196. Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.